Welcome to the Latched On Podcast.
Welcome to the Latched On Podcast. The Latched On Podcast is about the outdoors in Appalachia. Everything from hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, bushcraft, and woodsmanship, and digging into the depths of what makes this area of Appalachia so unique as a whole. It's time to strap in for the Latched On Podcast. Alright guys, we're live from the deer woods, or lack thereof deer woods, depending on who you ask. It's Latched On Podcast special deer camp episode with Zac and Thomas Sword, who is a guest today. So, how's deer camp been for you guys so far?
Well, I think it's pretty cool. We got our first guest on the podcast.
Say something. Tell us about that deer you shot at yesterday.
So here he comes.
We'll start out.
Little 4-point. Walking across the trail. Heart's a pumping. Never killed a deer with a bow. So my adrenaline's going. I'm feeling it. I go, meh. He don't care. So I have to adjust my shot. Next thing you know,
How far is the deer?
about 35 yards.
And wait a minute. We got to set it up a little bit. We're in deer camp in Southwest Virginia, deep in the mountains, little to no cell phone signal. Not a lot of people have been here in a lot of years. Yeah. So that's the kind of setting up where we're at, and we're pretty sparse and spread out. So you got a 4-point walking in. You got him in a lane. You're trying to stop him in that lane. You man, and then what?
He don't stop. So I have to hurry up my shot. Next thing I know, bam, dead poplar.
Oh, wow.
She ain't 3 inches around, but she's got 14 points, also known as limbs. She's about 18 foot tall.
So here's a background for me. I wasn't hunting that day. I just arrived here at like 4:30, and I'm up here starting the fire, getting food cooked. Next thing I know, I see a flashlight, and I see Sword come out here, and I'm like, "Did you have any luck?" And the next thing you know, he shows up an arrow with a piece of wood stuck on it, and he says, "I got me a poplar."
Yeah, it was is it Montec Mega Meat?
G5 Mega Meat.
Yeah, that thing it smacked that tree. It deployed though. It did well.
It did deploy.
And it looked pretty well. I've heard pretty good things about those broadheads when it comes to deer, but I mean they do well on trees too. That ain't nothing big deal. I shot Andrew and I come up here and bear hunted, and then actually the spot we're in early bear season during rifle, and I actually carried a recurve, and I took a shot at a squirrel, and it skimmed off the ground and stuck in a tree. Pretty similar, but I didn't have to cut mine down to get it out. So we've all shot trees. It's all right.
Yeah, luckily it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it's a cool souvenir. But I mean, that's buck fever at its finest, though. That's what makes us do it. Getting our heart pumping and getting excited and getting out here and doing it.
Let's talk about your deer story this morning here, Zac.
Well, do you want to start with yesterday's deer story?
If you want to set it up that way, you set it up that way.
I'm completely open with it. Everybody,
right.
I think everybody's done it. Well, everybody that's listened to the podcast knows I'm a pretty big archer, and I like target shooting and archery hunting anyway. So I train shoot quite a bit. Comfortable at long distances, and but just like anybody, deer gets my heart pumping. So I was evening hunting in a different spot from Sword, different ridge, and it was kind of funny because I got in. No, we both. Let's see. I got in late because I'd brought my kids for the first night of deer camp. So that morning, Sword went out, and I had to take the kids home, so I didn't get to hunt first thing. So I get back in, I get settled in. I think it was like 10:58. I think I texted Sword because I actually had service on that ridge. Said I was set, and then I texted him. I said I forgot to pack any kind of lunch, so I'm gonna have to kill a deer early so I can get out and get lunch. Well, anyway, exactly 15 minutes later, I take a shot at a doe. She come down to, it was like 11, whatever, 15 minutes after that is, 11, 13, whatever. She come down, and I'd already prearranged the spot. It was at 39 yards. And I was completely comfortable taking that shot. It was completely clear, no twigs or anything. And I line up my the correct pin on it, and I complete a perfect executed shot, and that arrow went exactly where I intended it to go direction wise. I completely made a rookie mistake and did not hold low. So I did clip that deer in the back straps. I wait a little while and get down and track, and there's minimal to no blood. Tracker for probably 200 yards with minimal to no blood. Probably not even 4 ounces of blood total on everything that I tracked. And then she just quit bleeding. So unfortunately I did wound a deer. However, she definitely will live from that. And I hate to do it, but that's part of hunting and part of archery hunting. So that was my yesterday evening. Beat myself up over that a little bit. So my tip for everybody else at deer camp whenever they came in was if it's past 30, make sure you hold low. Fast forward to this morning. We go out. Andrew gets here yesterday evening. Andrew and I go in we go to the same spot. And he's about 100 yards from me. I go up the ridge. He's in a saddle. And about 8 o'clock, a little after 8, I see some does rolling through. I stand up and get set. And the first doe, she's a big one. And there's some little ones following her, but they're, everything's lost its spots by now, so everything's safe to live on its own. And that big doe was leading. And they were up on the ridge on me, but luckily they started working their way down just a fuzz. Because if they would have stayed on the line they were on, I probably wouldn't have had a good shot. And she started coming down a little bit, and I was like, if she comes in front of that tree right there, it's 35 yards. I'll clip her. And she literally walked right where I needed her to. And she stopped on her own with her leg forward, quartered to me. And I made sure I held low this time. And I executed a pretty decent shot. It pumped right through the area I wanted it to. And she took off up the hill. And the doe yesterday, just to give an example, the doe yesterday blew at me. And that's when I knew that I probably didn't make a good shot. Because if you get a deer in the lungs, I guarantee it's not going to be able to blow. Or it shouldn't be able to blow well anyway. And it sounded completely normal yesterday. This deer didn't blow or anything. It went up the hill. And it kept stopping, and it was flickering its tail with its tail tucked between its legs. So I felt pretty good. That's usually a sign of a wounded deer, or severely wounded deer. And I'd already told Andrew on the way in, if one of us shoots a deer, let's wait at least an hour in case any other ones work through before we get down. It gives us deer time to get where it's going to expire, and then maybe the other guy can get a shot and we could double up. But an hour later, I climbed down and find it, and Andrew starts tearing down. I went up and found her. So she run about 100 yards, maybe a little less, and passed away with a good, clean, ethical shot. Upon gutting her, it looked like it was probably a double lung or at least one lung, and clipped one of the arteries or something above the heart. But done well there. So pretty happy for that. So we got one on the board, and we're only on the first full day of hunting camp.
Yeah, ate tenderloins and heart just a little while ago with some pre-cooked deer stew, and we're got a full belly. Just reminiscing about today so far. Yeah, we've had you both seen a lot of deer movement yesterday or Sunday, and of course it was a little bit different for Sword today. I guess you didn't see a thing.
Nothing but air.
Yeah.
Fallen leaves.
I saw nothing but squirrels. I saw the deer. From my perspective, I saw Zach saying there's a doe up here or some deer up here. And I'm like, all right. And I see him standing up, and I see him draw his bow back, and I'm like, I think he's gonna take a shot at the deer. I was talking to the camera or whatever it is. Next thing I know, I hear, and I'm like, I think you just hit a deer. So, yeah, I tore down. We got that deer out. Got the deer cart. Wheeled her out of here. Zach took her off the processor, and we're back here chilling. Just ate some food, and we were talking about it earlier, me and Zach, when we were waiting on Sword to get back here. Just everything about deer camp in general, like how it's like almost a lost tradition, especially in modern hunting society. I'm sure it's still popular out in the Midwest and whatnot, but it's not as prevalent as it used to be, and we decided to try and do it this year the best we could, because it's one of those things like few people get together and hunt, and we were talking about like getting the deer is just the icing on the cake, and what the cake's all about is just being dudes hunting in the woods, and that camaraderie, I guess, is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, camaraderie, camping out, having fires, cooking some good meals, doing stuff like that, just being together, making some memories, because this is stuff we ain't going to forget for the rest of our lives. We'll get to tell our kids and grandkids about this stuff. So that's one thing we all talked about it. I think it was literally last November. I hiked to an area and camped out and kind of did my own little personal deer camp by myself. And I mean, it was cool and all, but like I didn't even make a campfire or nothing because there's no point. I didn't have nobody to sit around it with. So it was one of those things. I started messaging Sword and Andrew both, and was like, "Hey, we need to start a deer camp, and eventually start bringing our kids to it and everything else, and get that tradition back going." So this is our first of hopefully many annual deer camps. I mean, we might adjust the days or adjust everything else and start spreading out, going to different places maybe every year and trying different things, maybe eventually start going to different states and trying stuff like that, and just getting some experience and learning how to hunt deer, growing on woodsmanship, growing as men, bringing our kids and teaching them the stuff that we like to do.
Yeah, you definitely can't go wrong with that. It's something that you can pass on to your kids, and it's something they can look forward to every year, especially if they enjoy that kind of thing. Yeah, every November or whatever it is, it's like, when's deer camp's coming up, Dad, or something like that. And soon after that, when your kids get old enough, it's less about you getting a deer and it's more about your kids getting a deer. And that's just keeping the tradition alive of hunting, and you really can't beat that, in my opinion.
Oh, that sounds pretty good. I like that. Sword, what do you think? When are we going to start bringing your boys? You got the oldest son here.
So Jacob's 13. He did get his first deer last year with the help of Zac. And unfortunately, he's got school this week, so he can't come. So I'd really like to get him to go. If I could convince Mom, we'd be here Friday with him, but he missed a little bit of school last week because he was sick. I don't think she's going to let me. But he does enjoy hunting, but we got to give him something other than a rifle. So
yeah, we got to get
his woodsmanship up and teach him how to shoot a bow, and that way he can hunt more than just a couple weeks out of the year.
Yeah, we're all pretty. It's we're trying to get all our kids into archery hunting, and it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool because none of us are very experienced archery hunters. No, I mean, none of us are just cold-blooded killers when it comes to bows, but we've all kind of fell in love with the sport and the difficulties, but also the enjoyments of shooting archery and then learning how to do it and shooting well. We all are. You've heard our past podcasts of us tinkering, and y'all have heard me geek way out over bows and archery and arrows and broadheads and everything else. So it's just one of those things, like, we've all kind of took to it a lot and very well, and hopefully everybody here will leave with a archery deer. Just to give a little backstory, it is the opening week of muzzleloader here in Virginia, the week that we're here. However, archery season runs all the way up. Well, you can archery hunt technically all the way through the entire season in Virginia. During rifle, you can only shoot a buck with a bow, and you have to wear orange. During early archery and muzzleloading, you don't have to wear orange if you don't want to. It's up to you, but you can kill a buck or a doe. So that's where we're at there. But we're really hoping everybody takes home a deer with a bow this year, because it's just there's something else about it. And you just talking about your heart pumping sword with that 4-point. I can tell you right now, I could hear my heartbeat in my head when I was drawn back on that doe. I could hear it, and I was like trying to tell myself, shut up, it's going to hear you, because that's how loud it was. And there ain't nothing like the first one. When you get that first one with a bow, like, I couldn't control my shaking afterwards. Like, it was a warm day when I killed my first doe with a bow, and I was shaking, and it was a warm day, and I got cold because I was shaking so bad. Like, it gave me chills almost. And then today, of course, the first one is always the worst, but even today, like, I wasn't shaky on the shot. Like, you get to the point where you get good at the process, and you can get through the process without the shakiness. And then as soon as it was over, my knees started quivering. So, and that was just over a big mama doe, and I was tickled pink with it. So anything like that makes me happy. So hopefully we'll have more to come, and you'll definitely have to check out the Instagrams and everything else. We all tag each other in most of the stuff we do. So if you want to see anybody that's here at deer camp, you want to see any of their posts and stuff afterwards, I'm gonna do a couple big Instagram posts, probably multiple, because we planned on taking a lot of pictures of camp, just the process, everybody, just taking pictures of each other. We're gonna get one together, and so we can have that stuff to look back on and everything else. And social media can be a good thing, and you can use it as like a memory box, I feel like, or like a time capsule. And it's every year we can, post, Deer Camp 2023, and then 10 years from now we can look back on Instagram and, man, that was a good trip,
Yeah, definitely. It's something you can look back on, something you can look forward to for the next one. And like I said, just getting the deer's the icing on the cake. Everything is just about making memories and having that camaraderie and all that stuff. So, but this is going to be a short episode. We're only running on 16 minutes here because we'll probably do a couple more podcasts later on this week, depending on how deer camp goes, successful or unsuccessful. So, I mean, we got stuff going on. Tomorrow, Zac and Sword's going to go hunt a section. I'm going to go hunt a different section, and I got to cut out of here about noon to 2 o'clock, and they're going to hunt. I think y'all are going to be hunting all day.
Yep.
So,
yeah, all day.
So
we're going pretty deep. Hopefully there's some good spot for some cruising does, and maybe some bucks following. The spikes are chasing, the little bucks are chasing, so the big bucks ought to be fired up here soon.
So hopefully we'll have some action tomorrow, and we'll keep you updated.